This is The Drive with Mark Pinatelli.
So yes, remember tonight, stay tuned for NBA basketball. Raptors, Cavs, 8 o'clock NBA countdown, 8:30 tip-off. And then we'll have some Major League Baseball as well for you here on the radio as the Nationals taking on the Padres. That wacky National League East, I think there's 4 teams within 2 games of one another. 4 teams. 4 teams. We're not talking baseball, though, Sam. No, sir. It's time to. I was telling you I can't waste this joke on the commercial segments. Where you and I are going to start if this was a podcast, instead of The Men Who Stare at Goats, this podcast, which is a movie, starring George Clooney, right?
Yes.
You don't.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, I had to double check.
That was the yes. I'm going to agree with you, but I'm not really sure.
George Clooney and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Either Alec Guinness or Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor.
I have not seen The Men Who Stare at Goats.
I haven't. He got a 6.2 on IMDb.
But this,
sorry,
but this podcast would be called The Men Who Argue About Goats, right? That's what we're going to call this podcast. You and I are a perfect age difference when it comes to this sort of debate, because I am 44. You are 24, right?
I'm 24. I'm almost 25.
You're 24.
Not that anyone cares.
I'm 44. Guess what? I spoke with a gentleman who was about 67 this weekend.
Okay, yeah.
Now, before we get to his input on this, when we talk about goat debates, it's not, do they eat too much grass? Is their milk just as good as cow milk? No, the goat debate is about who's the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. It's tiresome.
Well, now I want to have the cow milk versus goat milk discussion, but okay, that's fine.
Well, I've never tried goat's milk.
Me neither, but I do love goat cheese, and I assume that comes from goat milk. And I actually would go so far to say, if you had to just give me like some cheddar or some goat cheese, I'm going to go goat cheese every time.
Really?
Goat cheese is good.
I don't, man, I really love
crumbly, spread it on a cracker.
That New York cheddar, like the white upstate. Yeah.
Sharp cheddar. Are you a sharp cheddar guy?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Mild cheddar?
Sharp,
extra sharp.
Yes, yes. I definitely love my cheeses. I do think it's interesting debate. I would like to bring some goat cheese in here, some goat milk, and have that debate at some point. Seems like a great summer show. So,
but not this goat talk.
No,
goat talk you're looking to do. As I continue to derail you.
There's a guy who is a little bit older than you. You know him, Danny Pfeiffer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Listener. Mm-hmm. And
a little bit older. Come on, I know Danny. Danny's like 20 years older than me.
Yes. But for whatever reason, he doesn't remember a lot of, I guess, Jordan playing or what. He's a huge LeBron supporter, though. And one of the things I acknowledged with him not too long ago is because he and I engage in this endless debate. Because you can't convince the GOAT debate is as dumb as whatever your soda preference is, whatever your beer you drink is.
It is as dumb as Mel Kiper releasing a mock draft for next year's NFL draft.
Yes. Gosh, yes. It's what you believe. It's opinion. It's opinion based. And there's nothing that's going to change your opinion most of the time. I mean, if you're a guy who prefers Peter Pan peanut butter, the Jif people aren't gonna convince you, right? So no matter what you're debating, it's just funny, and I acknowledged with him that it's fun because we go on these endless tirades. You've seen these things. It's either two people talking endlessly at each other, spewing statistics at one another, or on social media, these endless posts with all these stats, and so-and-so never did this, and, well, he never did that, and da-da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't matter, because it's like you're trying to argue someone, and you're expecting that person to go, you know what, you're right. I'm wrong. And LeBron James is not the greatest. it's Michael Jordan. And that's never going to happen. Right. It will never happen when you do that, right?
Yeah, it's like politics. Like you're either you fall on one side or the other, and that's why I don't get into political arguments with people, because if I want to vote for this person, and that person wants to vote for that person, I can yell at them till I'm blue in the face as to why they're wrong. But once someone makes up their mind on something like that, and sports fans are just as passionate about discussions like this, or discussions about their favorite player, their childhood sports hero, whatever it is, just as passionate as politicians are. People, turn on Fox News, turn on CNN. Sports fans are just as passionate as those folks, but just like that, there is no convincing. You're right.
Me and my generation are convinced without question the greatest of all time was Michael Jordan, because we witnessed it. This was also, you have to remember, the launch of where we all went from 10 to 30 channels to hundreds of channels, and social media and the internet. And the other thing that Jordan did was he transcended basketball, because the fashion and shoes and sneakers and all those things became popular. And we're just a generation that believed there was nobody greater than Michael Jordan. A guy your age, without question, who didn't see Michael Jordan, you can't convince that guy who's watched LeBron. Especially, you brought up a great point earlier today when you said watching LeBron James play these last few games, it's almost as if that dumb Michael Jordan's the greatest talk. It's like when I watch that, you can't convince me that Michael Jordan was the greatest ever. And I was telling you, yes, when I see that, that's what reminds me of what I saw when I saw Michael play. And watching LeBron play that now, I completely see why people of this era, of this time, who are on the LeBron side, why you believe so passionately that he is the greatest. Because when I watch that, when I see that, yeah, wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I mean, he looks great.
Yeah, I guess the thing that probably, because I don't like LeBron. I've voiced my opinion very loudly that I'm not a LeBron.
Anti-LeBron guy.
I think he's a great basketball player. Don't get me wrong, and I have always thought that. That's never been in question. But I just don't like the antics. Don't like the whiny attitude. He still continues to flop. I mean, I feel like we haven't even paid enough attention to that this go around. I don't know if everyone's just numb to LeBron flops, but they're still happening. They're still happening.
He is a flopper.
They're flopping all over the place.
He
but
is a flopper.
The issue, I guess, for me, and the thing that is convincing me, man, what have we always said about LeBron James? And what has been everyone's knock against LeBron James his whole entire career? It's, he doesn't have that killer instinct. He doesn't quite finish off games the way maybe you would want him to. It seemed like all those years when he was first with Cleveland, and then even when he was with Miami still, he was the guy who kind of deferred.
Yes.
He when it came down to that last-minute shot, he deferred. We sort of chalked that up to that's what LeBron likes to do. LeBron likes to be the quote-unquote facilitator. He kind of takes pride in that. Well, now, in his 15th season, mind you, his 15th season, this guy has peaked offensively. I don't think we've seen a better offensive LeBron James than we have seen this year, and especially that we have seen here in these playoffs. And to me, that's what's really winning me over in this LeBron James debate, because we can say what we want about what did or didn't happen in Miami. Should he have won more? Should he have won some with Cleveland when he was there the first time? None of that matters in hindsight, but what's really impressive is that he is doing what he's doing right now with this team, this ragtag group of guys. And now when everybody looks at him and says, there is no other option, there is no D-Wade for you to pass off to, there is no Chris Bosh, there's no Kyrie here to bail you out, it has to be LeBron, and he's doing it time and time again. We saw it once again on Saturday with just a deadly floater there at the end. And the numbers kind of speak for themselves. I mean, when you're putting up, 4 40-point games, I think, this playoffs already for LeBron James, multiple triple-doubles. I mean, he's as reliable as they come. And if you go back and you look, that shot Friday night was LeBron James's 5th buzzer beater in playoffs across his whole entire career. Michael Jordan's whole entire career, 4 buzzer beaters in the playoff. Kobe Bryant, 1 buzzer beaters in the playoff. LeBron's done it 5 times now.
Yes.
And to me, I know buzzer beaters aren't everything, but if you're making the clutch basket and you're putting up the ridiculous numbers, it's enough for me to bow my head a little bit and say, okay, maybe you are the king.
And you're not, again, who am I to say you're wrong in believing that? But I know, because I'm a Michael Jordan guy, the first thing you think of is, because again, in this endless debate, here comes the Jordan. Once the LeBron guy spews out all what you just said, yes, I've never seen a guy do what he's done, and to do it clutch, and to do shots you've never seen him do. It's just phenomenal. But then I go back to being a Jordan guy, and I think, well, you know what? Jordan didn't have to do the buzzer beater because he had already killed you. There wasn't a chance. He was going to have to beat you with a buzzer beater. This is all well and good because, again, it's an endless debate. What's interesting is I'm going to go to my old man story. And I'm not the old man in the story this time.
Get off my lawn!
So, this weekend was talking to an old guy who loved the whole, he's one of these guys that loves that we work in sports radio and that thinks that we have the coolest jobs in the world.
We do have the coolest jobs.
We absolutely do. And we were just talking about that, and he was asking me, I forget what it was, but I was like, yeah, just every day, same old stuff. I was telling him, I was like, well, like I said, I love it. I said, but like with any job, there are days when it gets mundane, you feel like you're doing the same things, and blah blah blah. And I said, and I threw out LeBron, who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? And he goes, well, that's an easy debate because neither one of them. Which spurred my interest. At that point, I was like, well, do you have a third candidate you'd like to bring up there, sir? And then he brings up this guy named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and what's interesting is he said, man, first off, he goes and he talks about all these points, how much points he scored, how many championships he won, how many championships he won in college, but this, that, and the other, how he won in an era against the great centers. He won against great centers. He was there in the 70s and was actually there in the early parts of the Magic Bird era. Goes to all this. And again, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to him build up all this case. And again, there's nothing this old man can tell me that's going to convince me that, please, Michael Jordan would kill Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But the more and more I watched him, the more and more I watched in his eyes. You know what I'm talking about? Like the passion in his eyes.
Right.
The more I was like, yeah, this is it. I would bet you there's probably some guy who goes back even further who's going to say, nah, man, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. I can understand the fact that he just enlightened me on the fact that we're just loud and on the air all the time about this LeBron Michael thing because these are the last two greatest players we've seen, and we just don't have enough of the older guy telling us about Kareem or the even older guy to tell us about those other guys. Because what it opened up to me is every time we do this endless debate, there's an older group of people that are either watching or listening that are like, oh, this idiot's, and talking about this over and over again when they're not even close on this debate. It's just interesting to hear because I never hear that third candidate. Never hear that third candidate.
Yeah, see, I don't even think about that because, I have a hard enough time even thinking back to Michael Jordan. I had a Michael Jordan poster on my wall as a kid, but I didn't get, I wasn't a nuanced sports observer when I was 5 years old the way I am now. And you and I were talking earlier, just reliving some old years, and you were talking about that old Utah Jazz team with John Stockton and Karl Malone. I had a John Stockton jersey as a little kid, but I don't remember John Stockton playing. Right. So to even think about Kareem, it doesn't make any sense. But if you go back and you look at what that guy did, 19-time All-Star, 6-time NBA champ, 11-time all defensive team, 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time scoring champ, 15-time All NBA. He won 6 MVPs. What do you want? Right. He's got 6 rings. He has 6 MVPs.
Yes.
Where else do you see that?
Yes, all defense, the scoring. And then one thing we never. He did, I think, on multiple teams. Just a phenomenal job.
Yeah, did it with Milwaukee and did it with LA.
So,
and both places have retired his jersey.
Yeah,
my man has his dirty jersey hanging in 2 different arenas.
Yes,
that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. It doesn't. On that note, should LeBron should LeBron's Miami jersey be retired at some point on talking about this? I mean, I think it will be. I think
he won 2 there, right?
1-2 championships there. I mean, I think he will because
and he might go back.
He might.
He could go back. No, I don't know. Is there anybody now?
But isn't it like the Brady Montana debate that goes on endlessly? Again, it goes to, if you've watched Tom Brady this whole time, and you have, how many Joe Montana games did you watch this?
0.
Right.
Yeah. I don't even remember. When did Montana play? Was it like the 80s? I was born in 93. Was he done? I don't even know.
Right. And I was telling you, like my dad would tell you, was Johnny Unitas. That Johnny Unitas was better than all those guys. And I love the debates. It's like, didn't have a thing in his ear. I mean, I could hear me debating why Montana was called his own plays, didn't have a this, that, and the other. Guys could hit him. My dad would be like, dude didn't wear a helmet. I get it, and it's interesting to hear these debates, and it's why there's no wrong answers. I mean,
yes, exactly.
There are no, when you're talking about your opinion and when you're talking about greatest of all time, there are no wrong answers, unless maybe you get like groupie fanatical about a certain player. Right, and then you try to say something like, "Oh man, the greatest of all time is Big Baby Davis."
Are you throwing shade right there?
I am not throwing shade.
You know what I'm referencing, right?
I think you're. Yes, absolutely. It was, but you know what? If a shoe fits.
Yes, right. My thing, I guess, the big thing for me about this, because look, I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the discussion. I think everybody. I mean, one of the building blocks of sports talk is who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron. And of course, you can always toss out the Kobes. Of course, you can toss out Kareem, and you could probably talk me into it one way or the other. What's funny to me about it all, I guess, is that the word you hear thrown around is hot takes.
Yes.
There is no hot take here. Like this take is warm at best to say that LeBron is better than MJ or that MJ is better than LeBron, because if you put it all in a vacuum, like it comes out pretty equal. And we're not going to get to see them play one-on-one.
We're not.
But if we did, I'm going to give the tip of the cap to LeBron James because he's a lot bigger.
That's just crazy.
He would steamroll him, man.
No, Jordan's got him all day.
No, I don't think so.
It's funny though. I remember watching Magic and Bird during that time and thinking, because during the time I remember thinking, man, these guys are phenomenal. They're just not going to, like they're going to. And they did. They changed the NBA, and then Michael Jordan came. And I think that has a lot to do with our obsession with the Michael Jordan people with Michael Jordan. Is that because he came sort of on the tail end of Magic Bird and sort of took down those two dynasties en route to his dynasty? I don't know. Like I said, there's some people we leave out too. I mean, what? Oscar Robertson, we can throw Bill Russell in there, Will Chamberlain, do we really want to open this up? Do we really want to make this strictly about X player has X amount of rings, X player has Y amount of rings? It doesn't compute really, and of course you can always be like, oh, well, he played in this era. Oh, Bill Russell played against a bunch of little white dudes. Like, yeah, he did, but he still did what he did. Like Big Shot Bob. Robert Ory, what did he win, like 7 championships, and then he had game-winning shots in 4 or 5 of those games or something. But yeah, we need to take a break though. Let's do that. Let's take a break. We'll come back. And are you having squirrel problems like we are? Asking for a friend.